Conflicts of interest in the White House. Interesting conflicts. Presidents are kind of like parents. You think they only came into existence to serve your needs, but they actually had very rich lives before you came along, full of tennis, sexual experimentation, speaking at Goldman Sachs for $500,000. But what happens to a person's business ties, loyalties, and money when they become president? If Hillary becomes president, Bill says he will leave the Clinton Foundation, that global philanthropic kraken, meaning that he and Hill would both officially be off the board, which is probably a good move considering the shady donation for devotion exchanges that we now know about. They include encouraging international fracking as Secretary of State, while ExxonMobil and Chevron were major Clinton Foundation donors, or encouraging the Russian government to contract with Boeing, followed by Boeing dropping $900,000 to the foundation. The State Department even once fielded a request on behalf of U2's Bono, also a donor, to broadcast concerts from the International Space Station. Because all the iPods on Earth weren't enough. He's gotta go to space. Then there's Trump, whose backdoor deals feel more like front-lawn garage sales.
We make the finest wine, as good a wine as you can get anywhere in the world. We have Trump Magazine. Let me see the magazine. We have Trump Steaks.
Also, Trump contraception. Just a photo of me for your nightstand. You'll never do it again. Believe me. But if elected, Trump says his kids will run his 500 businesses.
I have Ivanka and Eric and Don sitting there. Run the company, kids. Have a good time.
And with that, conflict of incest avoided. You heard me. But here's the thing. If elected, neither The Apprentice nor Claire Underwood actually has to give up anything, thanks to conflict of interest laws. These laws prohibit public officials from being involved in any government matter in which they hold financial interest, except for the president and the vice president, which sounds ridiculous. But back when these rules were formed, the country was trying to encourage business owners to run for president. You know, job creators like butchers and bakers and plantation owners. And guess what? Congress is also exempt from those very same laws. A 2012 Washington Post investigation found 130 congresspeople or their families traded stocks on companies they were in the process of making laws about, which is legal. So then, why even leave the board of your foundation or hand your business to your kid if you don't legally have to? The same reason Trump self-tans, to try and look less like a monster. Most candidates, to appear conflict of interest free, put their assets into special financial structures called a blind trust, which coincidentally is what most Americans call voting for president. Zing! Democracy! Or they take bigger steps to distance themselves from financial ties, like Jimmy Carter, who sold his peanut farm, Jack Kemp, who stepped down from the Oracle board when he ran for VP, and George W. Bush, who courageously left his binky behind in Crawford. But backing away from your business doesn't mean you've forgotten your old capitalist ways. Take Cheney, the dick who left his position as CEO of Halliburton to become the devil on George Bush's shoulder. As VP, Cheney continued not only to receive a salary from the oil contractor, but held on to $39 million worth of stock options, the value of which increased by 3,000%, right around the same time Halliburton was winning billions in government contracts to run oil wells in Iraq, the country recently liberated from being a country. All while claiming,
I have no financial interest in Halliburton of any kind and haven't had now for over 3 years.
Believe me. Cheney skirted around any conflict of interest questions by donating his stock profits to charity. Which charity, you ask? The Richard B. Cheney Cardiac Institute, which is the very place that's been keeping him alive all these years. That's about as selfless as Count Dracula donating all his income to the Vladimir C. Blood Bank. If it doesn't feel enough like a situation ripe for corruption, the people who would potentially raise any red flags as to the president's conflicts of interest are appointed by the president. That's a conflict of interest within a conflict of interest, making this a conflict of inception. So, what does all this mean for the next 4 to forever years, depending on who wins the election? Would Trump appoint Trump-friendly people to run all the agencies that have intervened with his businesses in the past? Or would he lower the drinking age to 14 so kids can sip sweet Trump wine? If Algeria misses a donation to the foundation, will Clinton think it's time for regime change? Or will she finally cave and let U2 into space? The things I do. If you like that, you should subscribe to Newsbroke. And if you didn't, then